got a special guest here right off the bat. I'm going to jump right into, but we're super excited. A lot of things to talk about, so I just want to go right into it. I have actually a near and dear family friend here as well. We've known each other for a long time, and ironically haven't hung out that much together. But I have Dr. Aaron Werner here with me today, and I appreciate you coming by and stopping by and saying hi.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
And what we want to talk about today is something that a lot of people tend to have this problem with, and is finding, finding joy versus happiness. And we're going to talk about that towards the back end of this podcast. And I really want you guys to hear that message. But first, I want to kind of, you and I come from completely different backgrounds.
Yeah.
You were in I'm going to say eye care for lack of a better term, because I don't know. That's optometry.
I'm an optometrist. Yep.
And it's the eye care world. And, I come from the metal customization world. So an eighth of an inch to me is not a big deal.
Yeah.
An eighth of an inch in your world is.
Oh, that's huge.
Yeah, that's
mine.
Yeah, that's blind.
Yeah, I work in microns. So yeah.
But how did your family business get started, or is the family business?
It's family business. So I'm fifth generation optometrist, and my dad, this was his second career. He went to school to be an optometrist. I was 7 or 8 when he graduated. He was going to take over my grandpa's practice, my mom's dad. He had a stroke, and so in fourth grade, I was 8 or 9. He moved us down to San Diego and opened cold. So I remember helping him build out the practice that we still have out in Rancho San Diego. I went down there after school to help make the lenses. At that time, there's a big wheel that used to grind the lenses up to put them in the frames. So really saw the whole growth of the family practice from when it was just him and my mom to what we have now.
So you saw that, you wanted to be a part of it, went to school for it.
Yep.
Got your doctorate, and then came back. And at what point in time did you realize that you went to school to be an eye doctor, but really you were a business major?
Well, I wish I would have been a business major, because I had to learn a lot of things on the fly. I really liked the business aspect of the business. I liked understanding why things happen, what the levers were to make things happen. Not to make a profit so I can go buy a boat. I don't have a boat, but I wanted to reinvest back in. I wanted the newer equipment. I wanted the new toys. I wanted to be able to take care of staff better, take care of patients better. So what are those different levers that you can push and pull in the drivers in the practice to generate more revenue to reinvest back in? And just that relationship I really liked.
It's a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. It's kind of funny. I got a business major, and I had no idea what I was going to do. And so this one guy came in and he goes, "You guys are all accountants." And he goes to leave the room, and he got my attention. I'm kind of looking at him. I'm like, "Well, what do you mean?" He goes, "Accounting is the language of business. And if you can't speak the language, you can't move a business forward." And right then and there, in one minute, 1 second, I went, "Okay, I know I'm going to be an accountant," because I had another language. It made sense.
Yep. But
past that, when I popped out, man, talk about green and not knowing where I was going. I had this piece of paper, the diploma, and I was like, now what? Yeah. And I went back into the family business just because that's what I knew. I knew the sign world and started doing sales and stuff. But very quickly I realized, as you said, all the different buttons and gadgets that can move a business through business, scaling, growing, development, way past and beyond, what we learned in school.
Oh, for sure. It was funny, when the day I graduated optometry school, my parents were there and super proud. My dad looked at me and said, "Congrats, Doc. You're going to be a doctor in 3 to 5 years." And I said, "Well, I'm a doctor now. I passed all my national boards. I'm good to go." He laughed and he goes, "You'll be a doc in 3 to 5 years." Come tell me, it's 3 to 5 years. I remember sitting down and going, I get it now.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I knew the 1 + 1 = 2. I knew how the systems worked, but the art of healthcare, and then I had to start over and learn the art of running a business. I didn't have those financial classes. I had to learn Excel.
Yeah.
Thank God for YouTube.
Seriously. I think we were the last generation to have Encyclopedia Britannica.
Oh yeah.
I think we were. Because right after that, they became just the paperweights, for lack of a better term, for around the house.
Yep.
But we were the last ones. Finally, the internet came out. Like, oh shit, we can learn this.
Yeah.
But so optometry, you're sitting there because I've gone to your shop. In fact, you've done care for me.
Yep.
And you got your glasses, you got the eye care, and then you have, I'm going to say, diseases, for lack of a better term, that attack the eye that you guys can practice there. What other things eye care is there that I'm ignorant to or don't know?
Well, the nothing's separated in the body, so it's all connected.
Okay.
And so the eyes are the windows to the soul. Eyes are windows to the health. So, thankfully, it hasn't happened a ton, but we've seen everything from diagnosing brain tumors, and cancer, We see a ton of systemic disease, so high blood pressure, diabetes, things along those. Obviously, helping you see better. Quite honestly, that's the easy part.
Mhm.
And but it's do you want to perform better in school? Do you want to perform better on the sports field? Do you want to move your eyes in a better way? And so all of those different aspects we can engage in, and some specialize more in others. I like pediatrics. Kids just like to have fun.
Gotcha.
So we play, but it's most learning disorders, if the eyes aren't functioning how they should and together, because you have two of them, they have to work together, that's going to limit you from learning how we learn now, where it's sit and read and process a lot of that information just visually.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. All that I would have never known. Would have never have known.
Well, I had no idea when into sign making until we took a little tour.
Yeah, right. It's so funny. You open up any business, and the basics of business is always the same.
Mm-hmm.
You have a product or a service.
Yep.
You tell them why it's important. They buy from you. You complete said product or service, and you get paid. Like, really, there's no change. I don't care what that industry is, and a lot of people see that so differently.
Yeah.
I can't believe how many people come there, and I hear this all the time, even inside my industry. So I have one sign coming to another sign coming. The first words out of their mouth, "Well, we're unique."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No, you're not.
Yeah.
No, you and me are talking about two completely different industries, and we're still the same.
Yep.
I always crack up over that. Is you're not unique. Maybe how you view it might be unique. How you attack it might be unique. But at the end of the day, you're the same company running all the way through. Yeah. I do laugh at that all the time when everybody says you're unique. I'm like, no.
Yeah. We get the same thing. I'm unique. We're special.
Yeah. I now equate that to I don't want to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If I hear somebody say you're unique, that means I don't want to learn. I'm doing it the best way possible, and I can't learn anything from you.
Yeah. Well, if you were unique, you would have told me what was unique, and not just saying I'm unique.
Yes. Yeah, you would have added that little caveat there.
Oh.
Hey, by the way, this is why.
Yeah.
It's one thing I always like when my one mentor asks, he goes, "What do you do?" And I tell him, he goes, "Okay, how are you differentiating yourself from the others?" He doesn't use the word unique, but how are you different that where you have a competitive edge or whatnot?
Yeah.
I always laugh at that and I always go, that's genius. That's the good way to look at it. How can I separate myself from the rest of the pack?
Oh, for sure. And once you know that, you can say no more than you can say yes.
Yeah.
Because saying yes to everybody and everything is tough. Then you end up being generic.
Yeah. No, it really is. It really is through that. And it's funny because I'm trying to learn how to say yes more to get outside my comfort zone. But with that caveat, with that little asterisk of, I'm going to say yes if I believe it's a good idea.
Yeah.
I don't want to just say yes just for the sake of saying yes. It's harder, but I do find myself saying, all right, let's try it. I don't want to be sticking in the mud. All right, let's try it. And I am putting myself out there to try and be a little bit better on that.
Well, the most successful optometry practices, because that's what I work with now, I get to see lots of practices. The most successful ones are the ones that take risks. Smart risks, they're not just rolling the dice, but the equipment we have is not inexpensive. And there's pieces that, they themselves are upwards of $100,000. I'm sure you probably have some more similar sitting out in the shop.
Sure.
But I have no idea if somebody's going to pay for it. And some of it insurance covers, some of it doesn't. And so are we going to hire new people? Are we going to expand? Am I going to buy a new building? How does this all work from cash flow? And the ones that play safe are always safe, but don't grow. And they're on the sidelines watching, saying, I wish I could do that. And someday I'll do that. The ones that really are successful, take those calculated risks, say yes. And they fail sometimes, but the wins way outweigh the fails.
I would agree to that. The people that take risks, and those are the people that honestly that are going to say yes more often and say, okay, I think I can make this work. I think I could push those boundaries and make that happen. I think that's what's so cool about it, and that's what I love. And I love the people that are risk takers, because I'll sit back, even if they, as you hear many times before for the entrepreneurs, they say, yeah, I succeeded, but I failed 200 times beforehand. The only difference between you and me is I didn't stop.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what I really love about all that. I really love the fact that, it's not a straight line. It's not a straight line to success. It's a zigzag or backwards. You look like the family circus trying to get there. And at the end of the day, everybody's like, oh, you're so successful. Like, you only see the last 5 minutes.
Exactly. Well, that's why I refer to it as a journey.
Mm-hmm.
So I just spoke to a bunch of new grads out of Chicago where I went to school and back to the alma mater. And they said, what advice? I'm like, there's no advice. It's just enjoy the journey. Like you're going to have ups, you're going to have downs. You're not going to be ready for any of it that comes your way, and you decide which way how you handle it. But it's just there's never an end point. You can't win the game. It's a constant game that you're playing, and sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down. You just hope that you're up more than you're down.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. So you were doing the optometry, you're with the family, and you found a new passion through business and through learning.
Yes.
And what's your new passion now?
I enjoy helping others. I enjoy seeing opportunities for them and seeing them succeed. So in building the education that we build, I like finding the docs that are really good docs and really smart, but they're hidden. Nobody else knows who they are. The diamonds in the rough, and I like putting them on a stage in front of 500,000 people so they can shine and build the name for themselves. I love seeing opportunities for us. Business education is something we don't get. They have a class in school, but it's worthless, right? You learn more in your freshman year of high school.
Totally.
But and so we built a whole curriculum around it, which starts with day one. You're going to laugh, but hey, this is a P&L, and this is the balance sheet, and this is what should be on it. And usually the first question I get is, well, where do I get those from? Like, you've been running $1 million business for the last 5 years, and call your CPA, he'll give them to you. But walking somebody through that, and I don't teach it per se. I found others to teach it. So aggregating that information, finding others to be the mouthpieces for it, let them shine, so that I can move on to what's the next challenge, what's the next problem, and help build the solution for it.
No, it's so sad. I still, to this day, I don't understand why they still don't have a home ec class in high school. I do not understand why they don't have a balance the checkbook class in high school. And forget what the cost is. Can you afford the monthly strokes for a house and a car and learn that? People look at it and they go, $500,000 home, I could never afford that. Well, what are the monthly strokes?
Yeah.
Based on the interest rate, and to actually show that, hey, monthly, you can make this happen.
Yep.
It's not out of reach. And they don't teach the kids that stuff.
No, they don't do, well, because it's hard. And I might be jumping the gun a little bit, but the whole joy happiness discussion you said you wanted to have, right? Hard is tough. Having difficult conversations is tough. In healthcare, I mean, look, the number one thing that the U.S. is facing in healthcare wise is obesity, right? And there's lots of different ways to try to talk around. You got to eat better and go outside and get some exercise. You don't got to lift crazy weights. Just go for a walk, go do something, eat a little bit better, moderate. But those aren't sexy conversations, and they're not easy fixes. And so we tend to just shy away from them.
Yeah. As much as say it, that the hard conversations are usually going to end with somebody's feelings hurt because they have to change.
Yes.
And the true entrepreneurs, to be honest with you, we enjoy hearing what we did wrong more than we did right.
Yes.
I enjoy hearing what I did wrong. I'm like, oh, I didn't do that well. How could how would you fix it? And I can learn from that and go, okay, I wouldn't go that route, but I get, 80% of it and I go a different route. I enjoy hearing what I did wrong way more than I did right. I hear somebody go, oh, you did right. I'm like, oh, thanks for the high five. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But it's not going to change my day.
Yep. Well, I don't want to know what I did wrong. I want to know what I could do better. So I don't want it. I don't want that negative attack, but and you can give it to me that way, but I'll flip it in my head and say, here's how I can do better next time.
And that's just it. And that's a perfect way to say it. You're going to flip it in your own head to go, okay, I can do this better. That's cool. I have now made myself a better person off of that learning.
Yeah.
I guess that toggle switch is if we could figure out a way to help people turn that toggle switch over to, this is how I'm going to grow and be a better person through constructive criticism, or just, hey, you could do better this way. That I would love to be able to people to give that message to them, because they get stuck in their own way. And if someone attacks them, they think they're attacking them personally.
Yeah.
I'm not attacking you personally. Yeah. You're like, no, I want to make you better. If I really wanted to attack you, I would ignore you and walk away.
Exactly.
You're not worth my time.
Yeah. Yep. No. Yep. You invest in people. So it's about probably 6 years ago now, 7 years ago. And every business, every coach always says, have a mission. What's your team's mission? And I always thought that was just a bunch of fluff, because most of what people came up with was just fluff. It was stuff to call you up and have you make a sign to put on my wall that never gets looked at again.
Yes.
So we created 3 values, and they have guided everything we've done in the practice. And what I learned is that they're the right ones because they're really hard to do. The first is quality care. And that's hard to do because it's really easy to go cheap. A lot of patients sometimes want to go, what's the least amount of product? I just want X, Y, Z. It takes us extra time, extra effort to really argue with the insurance company to get the prescription drug that I want to use approved instead of going with a generic or plan B. not Plan B drug.
Yeah.
Secondary drug. I'm not that kind of healthcare. So quality care. The second is individual responsibility, which sounds really cool and sexy until you say you don't get to ask a manager. You have to make a decision, and then you have to own the decision that you made. And I've had interviewees walk out of the interview room and say, no, we're done, because I can't accept that responsibility. I have to be able to say, my manager told me to do this, which is totally cool. You're just not the right place for us. We're not the right bus for you to be.
No.
And, but then the third is, I tried to make it sound sexy at one point, innovation and constant improvement. It's change. I just call it change. If you ever get comfortable, if the answer to whatever question we ask is, well, that's how we've always done it, we immediately change it, because you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
It's true. It's true. I talk about that all the time. Have you ever done the cold plunges or the cold showers or any of that stuff?
Oh yeah, they're horrible, but yeah.
Yeah, I do it all the time. And I absolutely hate it. But yes, to get you uncomfortable, but I've been doing it so much, it's not uncomfortable for me anymore. But it's shocking how much it does well for the body.
Yeah.
The amount of dopamine release and all of that. It always blows my mind by it.
I don't like being cold, but I ran.
Mm-hmm.
And so I eventually butted into me doing a couple full Ironmans. But after I lost my brother 20 years ago now,
mm-hmm.
I needed to get into a space where I was really uncomfortable to see what was happening.
Sure.
And so I would run until I got tired, and then my real run would start. And it would be through that pain where it was, your version of a cold bath,
mm-hmm.
but it would be through that super uncomfortable discomfort where I would get a lot more clarity. I could see things, problems got solved. I could understand what I needed to do or how to, direct my life, how to study better, whatever the case was.
I never thought of it through running and through the pain on that, but I get the end result. I never would have thought through that. Mine's more of an instantaneous whack to your face, where yours is like a marathoner for like hour 3. All of a sudden you're like, oh, wait, hold on, I got this now.
Oh yeah, it was the runner's high for me is when it hurts,
mm-hmm.
which sounds very sadistic to say out loud, but it was that.
Yeah,
that's when things became clear.
So you and I are cut from the same cloth when it comes to being uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
We always want to grow, and we have the constant change.
Yep.
How and I'm going to ask this question: how does that become joy?
I think the greater the struggle you overcome, the greater joy on the back end. And it's I'll relate it back to running. So I first started, run a couple miles. But when that became easy, the joy, the equivalent joy dropped as well.
Okay.
Because it became routine. And so it kept pushing and pushing, and then it turned into a half marathon, and then it became marathons, and then what's next?
Mm-hmm.
And I know this sounds silly, but everybody has that one thing that they do, whether it's, baking or needling. They need a challenge. As soon as it becomes routine, the joy level starts dropping.
Sure.
And so it's seeking something that's hard to do. And I think that's one of the reasons why Spartan races and different CrossFit challenges and whatnot are all big, because it's hard to do. And, it's sexy. There's a photo with it, and
yeah, sure.
You get muddy and whatnot. You get a headband.
Mm.
But overcoming that is huge. And I mean, the cheap beer at the end of it tastes so much better.
Yeah.
Than when you're sitting at home on a Friday, because you earned it.
You earned it.
And that earning something is the joy. It's working hard and completing a tough class, or graduating with a degree, or, working through photography and nailing the pictures that you were trying to do, because you learned all the different settings on your camera, and it finally came to fruition what you were looking for. Whatever that is for you. For my kids, sometimes might even be just completing a book, reading a book and whatnot. But it's that I had to put work in, and the reward I got back is that inner satisfaction that nobody can take away from you. That's joy.
I like that. The inner satisfaction is what the joy is. So tell me the difference between joy and happiness then.
The easiest way to put it is happiness happens to you.
Okay.
Right. It's not a bad thing. Happiness is fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm a big San Diego Wave fan. The Wave won a game. I'm happy. I did no work for that game.
Yeah.
In fact, I did less work as I sat and drank a cocktail watching the game. Heckled the ref, maybe you call that work. But I'm happy because they won.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm happy because I got some lottery tickets and scratchers, and I won a couple bucks off it. That's happiness.
Okay.
Joy is working really hard with my kid so that on her soccer shot and seeing her pull it off in a game and score, seeing the effort that collectively we put through together. Joy is having a complicated case in the office where just, the simple answer doesn't seem to be working to fix an eye problem, and working through it, doing some research on my own, and then seeing the patient happy because we were able to work through it. That's joy. Building a curriculum and having somebody right back, say, hey, I went through it, I implemented it, thanks for your mentorship. It worked. Here's how it worked out for me in my business. That's joy. And so I think you need both in life, but I think joy is more important because you had to put the work into it, and you really control it.
It sounds more long lasting as well.
Oh, certainly.
Yeah, you're going to get that joy from high for weeks, months. If your end goal is years out, then years as you're making closer to that gain. One of the things I heard decades ago was Arnold Schwarzenegger. Every time you saw him in the gym, he was always smiling. Yeah. He's kicking his own butt and he's smiling. He goes, why? He goes, because I'm working towards a goal.
Yeah.
I mean, he did that for, I'm going to say 30 years. I really don't know, but he did that for a very, very long time. And it carried that, what we call joy right now, with him on that one. And it's always kind of neat to see that, where at that point in time in his life, I'm pretty sure it just became a mindset. Like you couldn't rattle, you couldn't shake it, man.
You couldn't take it. And it's the figurative money in the bank.
Yeah.
Right. Happiness, you can't go back to.
Yeah.
But joy, you can always go back to the joy well.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully you've got enough in there because you've pushed through. But I still look back and smile when I finished my first Ironman 15 years ago.
Yeah.
So
I haven't done one yet. That's an accomplishment.
It's a long day.
I saw that picture. I was like, he did an Ironman. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
That is a feat. It is definitely a feat. So I want to help our listeners figure out a way to start on the joy path versus just the happiness path.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know, as much as you said that so eloquently, they're still having a little bit of a confusion, because it is a big concept. It is a very big concept, and joy and happiness kind of go, you can almost intertwine the two words, when really you and I are saying those are completely different, two completely different things. And so for me, I'm looking at, my kids, and how many kids do you have?
I have 3.
Yeah, you have 3, and I have 2 of mine and 2 adopted, so I got 4. And 1 or 2 kids is fine, but what you cross 2,
oh yeah,
that's a whole new ballgame.
You got a zone defense.
Oh yeah, no, you
lose.
Yes, you are praying that 3 of them, the tides are in, they're good, their Wi-Fi signal is strong, and you only got 1 to deal with.
Yep. Or the grandma and grandpa live close.
Yes. We bring in reinforcements. And with those kids, I'm trying to teach them to have joy in everything that they do, to have joy in the little things and enjoy that accomplishment. And for my 7-year-old daughter, it's literally, we're on make the bed every morning and come in and have a clean bed in a clean bedroom and have that feeling when you come back in your room after you've left.
Yeah.
And she did really good for 6 months, and now she has just kind of forgotten this whole conversation. Along with the rest of the house that looks like her bedroom.
I have one of those.
Yeah. But as a kid, making your bed is step 1. But as you get to an adult, yes, you should still be making your bed. That should be already ingrained in you, just like brushing your teeth. Like that, we should be past those steps.
Yep.
What are some good ways to start the joy process?
So what I do is in the business, and it's a running joke in the business. In fact, whenever we hire somebody new, the other employees sit the new person down and say, hey, this is how it's going to work. And it's going to be tough, but it's going to be good. Invariably, as the owner leader, you're going to be faced with an employee who comes back and says, hey, I got this problem. What should I do about it? And my answer back is, what are you going to do about it? And they said, well, I don't know. That's why I came to you. And I said, okay, I appreciate that. What are you going to do about it? And they just look at me dumbfounded. And it's really hard for both of us, because I know what I would do, and I want to solve it right now. The solve is easy. But if I don't walk through this exercise and teach them how to have that challenge, then they'll never figure it out. And I'm depriving them of that joyful opportunity.
Okay.
So what happens there is, and I think this is true as a parent too, what are you going to do about it? Now I'll sit down and allow them to walk through the steps for me. I'll guide them as a coach. Okay, what's the problem? Well, what do you think the possible solutions are? Great. Which one are you going to do? I'll never give advice.
Mm-hmm.
Like in my office, and I mean, if it's a healthcare issue, that's my decision to make.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But if it's a financial issue, you're giving away a full pair of glasses. You're not going to bankrupt me.
Yeah.
And so I will always say, you need to pick a decision and you need to run with it.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't go ask anybody else. I need you to do what you think is best and run with it. I'll never correct them. And no matter what their decision is, at the end, we'll sit down and we'll do an after action.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about the benefits, what other options they could have been, what else could have gone through, how I would have seen it. But I always use it as a learning opportunity. And most of the time, they get the right answer, or they come up with something even better than I would have done. And by calling them out publicly, saying, "Hey, you did a really good job with this." One, it empowers them to do it again next time, so I don't get those questions.
Agreed.
Two, I built up their self-esteem, but I'm now starting to teach them how to build their own joy. And when they're in an environment where they can grow and we'll say it's okay to make mistakes, but most leaders and owners don't allow people to make mistakes.
Good point. I agree to that.
And so if you allow them to grow and find that joy, so you're not trying not to make mistakes, you're trying to build joy, you get retention, you get better people. I open the door to tons of learning opportunities, and it's really apparent who's going to survive with us, because the ones that do take advantage of all the growth opportunities.
Yeah.
The ones that don't, they're going to find somewhere else that they're a better fit, and we're both going to be happy. So it's I really try to force them to make decisions. I try to force my kids to make decisions, and again, it's really tough because it's when I don't want to deal with that. You don't have the emotional bandwidth to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
But the more that you can, the more that you can help them work through their struggles. When they overcome it, they're so much happier.
You know, I learned that when I was 18 or 19 years old, and I had my friend Jeff. You know, he's married to my sister Celeste, and throughout all the years.
Yep.
And Jeff, when I got hired on at Dixieland Lumber Company, he was my immediate boss to teach me the ropes around the place. And he kept asking me questions versus telling me stuff. And I'm like, what the hell you keep asking me questions for? You know the answers. Just tell me so I can memorize it and move on with my life. Yeah. And after about week 2, I realized by him asking me questions, he could see where my brain path was, where I was going, and then just make little corrections to get me to the real answer versus just telling me drawing a new line.
Oh, yeah.
And I took that with me. So I was one of the few lucky ones that as a teenager, I learned that trick. And as I go through, I go, well, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? I keep asking people questions. But I never thought about not giving them my opinion until afterwards. Because I get them to where I want them to go. And I said, I believe this is the correct answer because of X, Y, Z. But I never thought to just let it go all the way through and then hit.
Well, if they come up with the right answer, I don't have to tell them, yeah, you're right. I disagree. Yeah, that's awesome. Go for it.
See, I do. I say, you're right. That is the best answer. And I give them that attaboys right on the spot. But really that growth and that kind of uncertainty and insecurity they get in their pit of their stomach as they go through that life journey, I am depriving them of that a little bit.
But here's something that's interesting. We talked about the Encyclopedia Britannica earlier. So when you and I had to look something up, we had to figure out how to spell it, or at least phonetically come up with spelling.
Yep.
There were indexes. There were a table of context. We had to reference, figure out the page, scroll through the page, learn scanning skills. There's a lot of little skills that went into what it was. And you learned that you had to retain some of that information, or else you had to go back through that exercise again. So it wasn't worth just, not memorizing basic facts.
Yeah.
And then college probably for us is when we were able to jump on Google and start typing things out. Again, we had to have a general idea of how to spell it.
Yep.
We got a whole bunch of search results and we had to quickly scan through those. So it was very similar, a little bit less labor intensive. My kids talk to a box. There's no typing. There's no spelling. They don't even have to push a button. They can just yell, "Hey Siri," or, "Alexa, talk," and the box talks back to them. And so the work just to get basic information is so much easier now. The joy of getting that information is so much less because the work that went into it. Now we can call them spoiled brats, but I mean, we created the stuff for them. We created their life easier. Yeah. Right. Blockbuster's another example. We had to go down, right? And you guys, if you were lucky, your dad let you rent 2 movies for the weekend and not just one. Yep. You had to make a commitment, and you had to know what it was just by reading the back of the box and looking at the cover of the box. And then you went home, and that was it. And that's what you were stuck with for the weekend. Netflix and Disney tells my kids what to watch next. They don't have to make a decision. They just follow along. And if they don't like it, they can stop and go back and start something else. So that commit to something, follow through with something and really enjoy it, and have that deep pleasure from it is not as accessible now, because we've made life so convenient and efficient that we have to find other ways for them to have those experiences. Or we just had them, I'm going to say more organically than they have now.
That's crazy. I never thought in those terms, but it's so true. You know, as we I'm going to call it spoon feeding them all the answers, and they don't have that chance to it. They don't actually, they're lacking the creative talent to find it. You know, the creativity to spell it correctly. Yeah. The creativity to go find which book it's in. The creativity to read it, comprehend it, understand it, and then go, now hey, let me apply it to whatever I'm trying to do. Yeah. All 4 of those are gone.
Yep. All 4 of them are gone, and they're gone from the beginning, and we're even taking less of our brain out of that experience. My kids got Chromebooks and iPads when they first started school. Well, if you think about it, you can remember what that nasty pink eraser smells like.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So when they write something, they type. Well, the muscular motion of typing is pretty similar. There's no difference in letters. When we wrote with, and kids write, and now with pencil, you can smell that pencil. Yeah. Especially the ones you had to sharpen. Oh, yeah. And then your eyes had to see it. You heard the pencil on the paper, so you had all your hearing sensory involved in it. You could smell it. You had your olfactory sense. Your arm was making different motions, so you had proprioception. So you're firing on all different parts of the brain, engaging in what you were doing. Where now, when you're typing, there's really no distinct smell. There's no distinct sound, because it's just the clicking of the keyboard. The proprioceptive motion is pretty similar for each of the keystrokes, and so you're taking out a lot of the brain engagement. So as we make things simpler, and yes, it's on us because we're spoon feeding them. We're building and creating a whole workforce that doesn't problem solve, that doesn't know how to find joy other than social media likes, which isn't even something that they're doing. They're creating. Right? They put a picture up, but it's a happiness that they're misconstruing with joy.
Yeah, no, it really is funny. You see that, you see a heart, and you see a like, and for us, for business venture people, I've got enough hearts to go, okay, that was a good message. It was well received. Yeah. Let's see what other messages we can help grow their mind, expand their knowledge. That's how I use hearts. Yeah. Never once did I ever think of, oh, wow, they like me.
That's because we all like you, Aaron.
Well, thanks. It was never a center thing, but I guess that goes back to, having a joy, or having a perception of what we're already doing. We already got that mindset. I always look for different ways to bring joy, and I guess almost, as basic and as simple as it sounds, give me a 3-month goal. Give me a 90-day workout challenge, just a 3-month goal, something small enough that you're not going to lose sight of the end goal. Yep. Something that's big enough that you're going to see a drastic change enough of where it's at, and then have a conclusion to step, and remember that there was pain to get there.
Yes.
I think a 90-day challenge are probably the first place I'd go to anybody listening and saying, hey, okay, let me try this joy versus happiness. Let me see what it's all about. I think a 90-day challenge, maybe in the fitness, is probably the easiest thing, because you actually look at your own body. Yep. The belt loop, for us guys. Oh, yeah. All of a sudden you click one more belt in, loop in, you're like, hey, all right, I've lost weight. It's good here now. And that would, I guess, be one of the places where I'd want somebody to start and say, this is a good place where you're going to find joy. This is a good place where you're going to find an everlasting, joyous, fulfilling life, where it's going to keep you in the positive, keep you looking forward, and not, I guess, not lower your gaze down to the ground and start walking with your head down.
Nope. I love that 90-day goal, but there's little joyful wins along the way. Let's say it's walk for 30 minutes 3 days a week for the next 3 months. Right, that first day you did it, check, awesome. Second day, 2, right? Then you've got 1 week, 2 weeks, and so you start building these little joy steps along the way, and the health improvements are huge, but the self-confidence improvements, you're going to find out even more important, outweigh the other.
Now that I've crossed 40, I will honestly say that I work out for my brain. I'm not working out for my body anymore. I'm working to get the brain pushed to be uncomfortable. I'm getting the brain just flat out blood flow. Let's not lie, just to keep it sharp and intact here. and doing more. I remember in our 20s, somebody did yoga Pilates. We all laughed at them. And as you get older, you're like, oh, that was quite wise.
Yeah, that was nice.
That was time well spent.
Yes.
But I think, doing those challenges, and I will tell anybody that's listening, if you go on your walk 3 days a week, and on week 3 you only go twice a week, you haven't failed.
No.
Just forgive yourself and move on.
Yeah.
That should be a 10-second conversation in your own head. I didn't make it. That's okay. I'll make up for it this week and move on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in 3 weeks, you did 3 times a week. That was 9 walks. You did 8 out of 9.
Yeah.
That's passing score on anybody's scale.
Yeah.
Right.
You look at it that way, and it's not. And I have seen some of my friends do this where they do a 90-day challenge, and on week 3 they fail, and they just go, oh, I gave up, and they throw it out the window because they missed one day.
Isn't this funny how we do all or nothing to ourselves?
It really is.
Yeah.
There's no reason for it.
No.
But I'd like to know where that manifested from in our society.
That's a good question. I don't know.
Yeah, I like to, where at some point in time we just thought, we're going to do it perfect, we're not going to do it at all.
No.
That's never how anything's ever been built or done.
No.
It's like we talked earlier, the family circus trying to get there. You fail, we go down, we stop, we rest, we go fast, we make great grounds, 2 steps forward, then 1 step back. It's just crazy.
Well, the best stories come from the fails.
Oh, they do.
Right.
They do.
It's never when it worked out exactly how it should. Nobody remembers those times.
No.
Remembers the car breakdown on the side of the road, driving to, grandma's house in Utah, and you had to figure out how to play mini golf with a pine cone.
Yeah.
Those are the fun stories.
Mm-hmm. That is true.
Oh.
Well, I thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate all your time. I love the insight that you brought to the table on this one. And I really hope that somebody, we would just change one person's mindset over this. This was a great podcast. Just one person to say, hey, there's a way to find joy that's way better than happiness.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Seek joy.
Indeed. Seek joy indeed.